It was a fun, was it 13 years? Bitcoin had a good run there, dude, but it's dead.
The Bitcoin eulogy episode.
We're here to reminisce about the open source distributed project that was Bitcoin. Had a nice run. It was fun while it lasted. It's been fun doing the show, but it's unfortunate that we're not going to have anything to talk about in the coming weeks, months, years, because Bitcoin is dead.
I love how I mean, like clockwork, we dump and then boom, Bitcoin death mining spiral comes out. It's just like it's
uh,
always the same shit, man. It's always the same thing.
oh, let me pull that tweet up. It's incredible. It's well, it's fun. So it's that, and then have you been getting a bunch of tweets like I dumped all my shit coins for Bitcoin? I'm a Bitcoin maximalist now. Uh,
I think most of those are bullshit, right? They're just
Trolls,
they know it's like easy.
easy engagement farming.
It's like bait, yeah.
Yeah. So this
Like I find that hard to believe,
here I'll put
but
this.
maybe definitely like obviously bear cycles mint Bitcoiners, right? Like people realize why Bitcoin is different than everything else in the market.
Oh, certainly. Yeah.
But usually it takes I mean, it takes a little bit longer. Like right now people are just like crying in a corner, and then like it takes them a couple months to like come back in.
We were
But the
joking.
death spiral stuff is clockwork.
Bitcoin's not dead. I just hope you all know we're going to be here next week and the following weeks and in years.
Even if Bitcoin goes to zero, we'll have a rabbit hole recap that week.
Yeah. No, but it is funny how cyclical all this is. And like exuberance. I feel very calm in all this because it's just like hilarious to see it again. But yes, Dirty Texas Hedge at Hedge Dirty on Twitter tweeted out earlier this morning. The truly interesting Bitcoin failure case is not price falls, paper hands get liquidated. The interesting Bitcoin failure case is price falls for far below break-even mining costs, becoming totally illiquid because there aren't enough miners to clear transactions. Is this an Ari Paul, or not Ari Paul? What the hell's Ari's last name? Is it Paul?
Yeah.
Yeah, is
I
this,
think
you think
he's had me blocked. He's had me blocked for 3 years now. I forgot the guy existed until you just mentioned him.
this might be his burner account?
Does he still tweet?
I don't know. I think he might have blocked me too.
I forgot about that dude until you just mentioned him.
Right?
Nostalgia.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it's Ari David Paul, right? Ari D Paul.
I think so. I had him on the TFTC series back in like 2017, 2018. And he told me Bcash was going to flip in Bitcoin. I was like, I should probably not have had you on the show.
But that was off air.
That was off air. Just leaked some alpha there. But I think the
It just leaks some alpha 4 years later after Bcash is basically zero.
oh well, that actually I saw that the Bcash uh, BTC pair is at an all time low. It's like 0.008. It's not even 1%.
Insane.
Well, if you're
Always
new,
inevitable.
if you're new to Bitcoin, quote unquote crypto in the space, welcome to the chaos. I mean, it's funny. I was actually looking for the clip. I didn't have time to clip it out yesterday, but we did have like a little reminiscing, or not a reminiscing, we had like a little powwow at some point in the episode. We're like, yeah, this consolidation is really weird. It's going to rip one way or the other. It ripped down.
Oh, last week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we made a really bold call that the volatility was ending and the volatility was coming, and it was going to go one way or the other.
Yeah. It went down. Um, where is it right now? According to Clark's dashboard.
Because what were we at last week? Were we at like 40?
No, we were at like 36 or something like that.
And then like what the bottom tick last night was like 25 or something,
Yeah.
26.
High 24s in some exchange.
I was with 250 Bitcoiners at Nash Bitcoiners last night. I had none of us had any idea that was happening while it was happening. Like I didn't even realize the dump happened until this morning.
Yeah. Well, dump happened. It was fun. It was actually one of the more exciting Twitter nights, Bitcoin Twitter nights in a while. Everybody was going nuts. Obviously, a lot of questions about what was driving the dumping. We're going to talk about some of the theories. I mean, obviously, the biggest one is that Luna stablecoin, Terra stablecoin, was the main driver, which could be true, but there's a lot of other stuff going on in the world too. I think it's
Um,
contributing.
Marty, there's a ton of the macro scene. Like, look at the stocks. Like, I haven't looked at CNBC, but I imagine they're fucking freaking out. I mean, there's like stocks that are down 90%, 95%,
Yeah.
uh, trading like shitcoins. Marty, I met your owl last night.
Oh, you did?
Have you ever met Marty's owl?
I did. I met him in Miami, I believe.
That was pretty exciting.
I forget where I met him.
It was the first time I met him.
I met him in the last few. It was either Miami or Austin. Or was that somewhere else? Where did I meet him? No, I met him at the in Texas.
Did he call you?
No, he did it. He did. We shook hands. I believe I met him. One of the owls. There may be multiple Marty's owls.
Well, there's a Marty's pigeon too.
Yeah, that guy's a pigeon. The pigeon is a far inferior bird to the owl. Okay. Sorry, Mike Tyson. The official price of Bitcoin, according to Clark's dashboard, we've come up from the lows that were hit last night, and who knows, this may not be a low for this cycle. The current price is 29,275 cuck bucks. One cuck buck is going to get you 3,416 sats. First rabbit hole recap where it's been above 3,000 in quite some time. We're currently at block height 736,092. Well, we had a difficulty adjustment. I believe it was yesterday.
Yep.
Yeah, it was yesterday. It was an upwards adjustment of 4.9%. That's because blocks are coming in at 9 minutes and 32 seconds on average. We are 1,764 blocks away from the next retarget, which is estimated to be on May 24th, which is 12 days from today. And that is right now estimated to be a 1.4% upward adjustment. Blocks are coming in at 9 minutes and 53 seconds since the last adjustment yesterday. A lot of transactions in Clark's dashboard, or mempool right now, as one would expect with all this volatility. It's currently sitting at 48,495 transactions. Fees have gone up. I was peeped at my block clock yesterday when I was in here. They're creeping up towards 10 million sats per block over the last 2016 blocks.
I'm like 95% sure that Binance dumped a shit ton of UTXOs in mempools to just, slow the dump down.
Well, I was talking to Ryan Gentry yesterday, I believe, and I think it is confirmed that it was Binance that did slam the mempool. Whether or not,
right.
They're
saying it's consolidation, right? But if people are having trouble sending Bitcoin to exchanges, then it slows down everything.
Yeah, that's a very good theory. Is that your theory? Or
Easy is very fucking
shrewd.
Yeah. I mean, that was what I first thought when I saw the Binance thing happen. When I saw Binance dumped because they're saying it's consolidation, which we talked about last week because they did it last week as well. So it could just be that. But someone said it on Twitter too, and it confirmed my bias, and now I'm saying it out loud. Well, but that was my first thought, was that
wouldn't shock me in the least bit.
Laurent said it on Twitter.
It would not shock me in the least bit. There are currently 4,674.52 Bitcoin in Samurai's Whirlpool unspent capacity.
All-time high.
All-time high. Unspent value in cuckbuck terms is not at an all-time high. It's at 137.9 million. Another interesting stat that I want to bring up is hash price, because that's been cratering, as you would imagine. Price dumping, difficulty rising. Hash price is all the way down to 12 cents. I believe that's the lowest point since November of 2020, which had like a Bitcoin price of like 16,000, but obviously difficulty was, and hash rate was about half of where it is now, or a little less than half of where it is now. So we haven't had this low of a hash price since like October, November of 2020. So it's tough out there to be a miner. Luckily, I mean, fees are going up, which is nice to see if you're a miner and you're worried about revenue, but price dumping difficulty rising and hash rate continuing to rise, as I mentioned on the dashboard. It seems like as of now, we're going to have another upward adjustment on May 24th. So it's getting tighter out there for the mining industry, which is
blood on the streets.
a lot of blood on the streets. You want to talk about stocks that are way down.
You see the mining stocks getting fucking hammered. MicroStrategy got hammered, and then all the public mining stocks got hammered.
Yeah.
Coinbase IPO'd at like $400 a share and was trading at like 40 something today.
Yeah. I think they're like something like 85 to 90% down from their IPO price, which was their all-time high. They've been
Brutal.
dumping. I think they may have had one up one day where their stock traded higher than their IPO price.
And then did you see Coinbase like change their they changed like their wording about what happens to your Bitcoin with them if they go through bankruptcy?
Yeah. So that's on the list, right? So we start with that.
I mean, what's on the list is that they lost a shit ton of money in quarter one. They lost $430 million in quarter one.
It's a lot of money to lose. Yeah, but obviously I wrote about it in the Bent on Tuesday. Coinbase came out. People were scouring their S1 filings of their financial report, and a lot of analysts pointed out that they had changed particular language in those reports that basically said, hey, just want to make all of our retail users aware if we go into bankruptcy proceedings, the bankruptcy court in the state may, and again, they're very specific with the language, there's a potential that they could have first rights to the Bitcoin that you believe you own.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's mostly a non-story. I mean, not your keys, not your coins. If one of these exchanges goes bankrupt, you're fucked. Like, it doesn't really matter what's in the... Like, people still haven't gotten their Mt. Gox shit from 2014. And then, like, every time if these exchanges go belly up, you just don't... What's the other one? Like, Quadriga? No one got anything from Quadriga.
Well, that guy just fucking took all the coin and ran, right? Or he died, and they couldn't access it.
Especially in like high volatility times like this, it's more important than ever that you're not very exposed to custodial services. This is where like services really, where the ones that are being run poorly get exposed, and they don't have enough to cover their responsibilities, their liabilities. So during these chaotic periods, it's even more important that you're using you're holding your own keys, ideally using your own node, but at least holding your own keys.
Yeah. I mean, if you haven't been woken up to the fact that you should be getting your Bitcoin off the exchanges, this week should be a jarring reminder, hopefully incite some action that gets you to spin up your own wallet, control your own private keys, and send that Bitcoin from an exchange to a wallet that you control. But Car, I put Brian Armstrong's thread in.
That didn't make me. That shouldn't make anybody feel any better. It's so much worse.
I mean, you saw that. You had to see the memes going around of it. Just like reminded people of Roger Ver when he got on camera and was.
Everyone should go watch that if they haven't. If it's before their time.
He was.
When he had the gun to his head.
Yeah, he was trying to make calm markets and tell everybody that Mt. Gox was not insolvent, when in fact it was extremely insolvent.
As insolvent as something could be.
But in terms of, I put that in the wrong. There's going to be people in Telegram like, why the hell did you send me Brian Armstrong's thread?
Who'd you send it to?
A group of friends. But Brian Armstrong basically took to Twitter. Obviously, there was a lot of speculation when these analysts sort of spilled the beans that they changed their wording in the 10Q section of their financials. And Brian basically came out and said, hey, we had to make this change due to SEC regulations that are forcing us to get more specific with our language. We're not insolvent, which leads people to believe like, all right, is this a Roger Ver moment? And that Brian Armstrong's claiming that prime and custody customers, which are more their cold storage custody solutions, are not affected by this particular language. They've more.
Only the plebs get fucked.
Yeah, only the retail traders, but he assures assuring all the retail traders that their Coinbase is working to bring those same security and ownership assurances to their retail clients, which I find extremely hard to believe, considering the nature of the shitcoin casino that is Coinbase and trying to do that across hundreds of coins. From an engineering perspective alone, just doesn't seem viable. Maybe I'm wrong, but yeah, this is one of those canary in the coal mines that should incite action in any individual who's holding Bitcoin. Well, you're technically not even holding. You have an IOU to Bitcoin on Coinbase, and it shouldn't only be Coinbase if you have it on Cash App, River,
Well, yeah.
any of these
What
exchanges.
I would say is, like, I mean, obviously, I mean, Coinbase can go fuck themselves. People should learn self custody, especially now, out of all moments. So they should heed this as a warning if for whatever reason they're still holding funds on Coinbase. But I mean, I think we kind of have to talk about this Terra blow up and unwind of this shitcoin.
Oh, I can't wait to talk about it.
And if we go down that rabbit hole of this thing, there's a lot of other services that are not Coinbase that are way more exposed, like services that we've never talked about on air because I don't want anyone to ever use, like Celsius or Nexo, even stuff like BlockFi. Like a lot of these lending services and stuff are all in these yield schemes where they're like trying to harvest shitcoin yield, and that's what they pay you as your interest if you keep Bitcoin with them. So there's a very good chance that a lot of those are completely underwater.
Yeah, I would not be surprised. I mean, you see like a cascading unwinding of this intertwined risk that exists in crypto. I mean, and we'll talk about it from the macro perspective too. It's not only in crypto, we're seeing it in traditional markets as well, stock and real estate specifically. But
I don't understand how there was so much fucking money in this like 20% shitcoin yield scheme. Like, what are these fucking people thinking? They're fucking insane.
They're high time preference greedy. They're trying to get those gains, bro. Yo, Do Kwon, he said we were gonna get more coins than Satoshi.
Oh his tweets have aged so fucking poorly.
Well, let's get into this because
okay, let's explain what the fuck happened to the best
so
of our ability.
We've mentioned Terra. I remember the first time it popped on our radar. I was like, what? Because like Udi and like some of the interchain interoperable pushers.
The shitcoin apologists were all saying that like we should, as Bitcoiners, we should be rooting for Terra.
Yes, and so basically,
they were buying a shit ton of Bitcoin.
Yeah, what Terra tried to do, I believe, I think they tried to spin up an algorithmic stable coin UST. So US, it's very confusing because Tether's USDT, but UST is Terra.
It's not treasuries either.
Yeah, it's not treasuries either. So they tried to create the stable coin in the way. So there's three aspects to it. You have the stable coin, you have the Bitcoin in the treasury, and then you have this associated token, Luna.
Yeah, you have the shitcoin attached to it.
Yeah. So it's like there's three moving parts for the Bitcoin and the treasury, the Luna, which is the associated staking token or whatever, and then the stable coin that comes
token
out.
That Novo got a tattoo of.
Yes. So so I believe it launched like fall of last year. So I'm going to come out and say it straight up. I think this is like a government psyop. It's like too perfect how this shit show.
I think it was a government psyop.
I think it was, dude. So
I mean, look,
let crazy Uncle Marty Jones go for a little bit here. I mean, it's just too perfect. Like it came out of nowhere, developed all this crazy attention. Like funds started throwing money into it. Novo got a tattoo. Novo sits on the New York Federal Reserve Financial Open Markets Committee, which is, and then you had Janet Yellen come out on Tuesday and name Terra specifically as a reason why you need to thrust more regulation on this. Like the way it blew up, or it came up and then blew up, is just it's so quickly. It got too much attention too fast.
So your evidence for it being a government psyop is that shitcoiners are greedy and short-sighted?
Well, and then the fact that Janet Yellen,
Well,
like
dude, it
she's
blew up magnificently. Like, of course she's
well
gonna fucking
at
mention
that
it.
point it wasn't even like a terrible blow up. Yesterday was a terrible blow where it went below like $1 and below a cent. And
Look, I
she,
wouldn't be surprised if some people that are very well connected in the financial ecosystem blew it up, but that doesn't mean they created it to blow it up.
I don't know,
Like you
it's too
have
perfect of a
greedy
narrative for
shitcoiners.
regulation to come in.
You have greedy shitcoiners who. So the way the scheme was set up was that Luna, you could burn Luna, that you remove Luna from supply, the shitcoin, and you could get you could get the quote unquote stable coin, the Terra, right? So the way it was designed was if all things were going well, as more people use Terra, as more people switch to that as a stable coin, Luna pumps as a result because you have less and less supply. Also, while you hold Luna, you get 20% yield on it. So you get an insane yield. So the shitcoiners fucking loved it. It was this idea of creating, they love stable coins, quote unquote stable coins, and they could have an attached token to it that not only gave them yield, but was designed to pump forever aggressively. But what happened was they ended up in an extremely vulnerable position, and someone or a group of people that had this is my feeling here, that had the bankroll to do it, borrowed a shit ton of Bitcoin, and they fucking blew this thing up and made billions of dollars.
Well, I mean, so you want to get into like, so the theory is that
Incentives.
actors like Citadel and other Wall Street
BlackRock
chop
officially
houses,
denied it today.
yeah, BlackRock and Citadel officially denied. So the
Did
rumor,
Citadel officially? I just saw BlackRock did.
I thought I saw Citadel did. I could be wrong, but the theory is that these guys borrowed like something like 25,000 or 100,000 Bitcoin
100,000 Bitcoin from Gemini was
from
the rumor.
yeah, and they use that to take large positions in this Lunaterra algorithmic stablecoin bullshit, and they basically collapsed the price and shorted it on the way down.
Yeah, the borrow itself is the short. Then they buy the Bitcoin back when it's down below, and they end up making a couple $1 billion in the process. They prop up their other stable coins, BlackRock's and USDC, and they bring in a bunch of government regulation as a result. But that part makes sense to me. I just think this guy Duquan or whatever was a greedy shitcoiner and just put himself in a vulnerable situation. Like I don't think the government built this shitcoin just to blow it up. That
I,
seems a little far fetched to me.
I could
Shitcoiners
see
are always doing this kind of shit.
I could see that theory, but the way it came up and blew up so quickly, you had Novo
It's
getting
beautiful.
tattoos.
Novo always gets stupid tattoos though. Like this is not evidence. This is just
I don't know.
Novo.
I don't know. It seems too perfect for me. Hey, I'll take my tinfoil hat off now. And I will concede that that's a good theory as well. You can just play the incentives. And yeah, I mean, what does that say if that's the case? Like, what's the market cap? We didn't read the market cap. So the market cap of Bitcoin right now is 100, or excuse me, 558.1 billion. Um,
And that's another reason, by the way, not to lend your coins with these services is
yeah,
because then they lend
re-
them out to people who just try and destroy Bitcoin.
yeah, exactly. If you are a moon boy and want the price to go up and you have your coins on exchange, you're playing yourself. Like, you need to take that liquidity away from these centralized providers who are rehypothecating those coins to institutional players that seem to have entered the game again. It's theory. BlackRock denied it. I think Citadel denied it, but
Yeah, but if it wasn't them, it was someone like that, right? Like a
yeah,
smaller BlackRock or Citadel that they had some quants. They like looked at the shit. They're like, oh fuck, they're super vulnerable. Like the macro climate is a mess right now. Like liquidity is not looking great, and let's just fucking do it. And they with minimal risk. Like what? Like if like the real risk is they try and do this, and then the Bitcoin price rips to the upside. But because of the macro situation, they were pretty much insulated from Bitcoin ripping hard to the upside. So you just fucking do this trade, you make some easy billions.
yeah,
And I have to say, like, this is what free markets are about. Like this is an adversarial environment. Like if your project is vulnerable to this, um, That's not market manipulation. That is just open market participation,
Yeah.
and you will be crushed if that vulnerability is there.
A lot of people got crushed. There's a lot of lunatics out there. It's funny that that's the word that they ran with too.
And it wasn't just like retail. Like there's fucking. Do you see like the list of crypto VCs? It's like a who's who. Like Polychain, Blockchain.com, Arrington
Block
Capital,
Tower,
Cacao, Pantera, Galaxy Digital, Coinbase Ventures.
high time preference. Yeah, no, I mean Frank, I forget his last name from the block. He tweeted out last night that a few funds blew up because of this. I don't know specifically
I think
which ones.
there's gonna be like a lot of contagion or whatever. Like we're gonna see the after effects of this for months.
Yeah. What do you
There's
think?
people probably like scrambling right now in the background trying to do things to
Yeah.
save themselves. Three Arrows, I think, was super exposed, and they've been notoriously resilient. I mean, it just goes back to like that. This whole thing is just a massive game of survival, right?
Yeah. And I mean,
Most people don't make it.
play stupid games, win stupid prizes. This is why we've been preaching DCA, sweep the cold storage, stay humble, stack sats. I mean, it's comparative. I mean, Bitcoin's at 558 billion. It seems like a lot of money, but compared to the overarching financial system, that's a drop in the bucket. And if these institutional players are going to come in with all the capital they have and the leverage they have access to, they don't even need that much capital per se. They can use
Exactly.
leverage. Like they can fuck you.
And I mean, it just goes to show like how resilient Bitcoin is. I mean, it's pretty impressive that like global markets are cratering everywhere, and then you have this massive quote unquote stable coin shitcoin blow up, um, and Bitcoin is still I just handled it pretty well, all things considered. The blocks still come in, everything
I'm surprised we're
is
hovering
working
around
as
29
normal.
right now. When I tweeted out yesterday, it definitely jinxed it. I knew as soon as I tweeted, I was like, we're dumping. I was like, yeah, it was like, honestly, I'm surprised about the
And that's what
resiliency.
happened, right?
Yeah. But we're back about right at the price where I tweeted that. So, um,
I mean, March 2020, what happened? We went from like
the,
10K to 3,300 or something.
I mean, the 1 day move is like something like 775 to 3.2 or something like that. Um, we're down, I believe, like 30, or we were at some point last night, down like 35% this month. Probably in the last week because the consolidation that ensued or proceeded. That's the right word. Um, yeah, so it's wild out there, but it's funny like watching this from the sidelines and having seen it so many times. I mean, the Luna Terra charts are just like your stereotypical 2013 pre-mined altcoin pump and dump. And if you're out there, if you're listening to this, and you're new to TFTC, you're new to RHR, or maybe you've been around for a while and you've been skeptical about what we've been preaching in terms of everything else being noise and extremely risky, and you learn that lesson. Hopefully, you only have to learn it once. I believe it's the best way to learn the lesson. Free markets kicking your dick in. And if you did learn a hard lesson over the last week, lick your wounds. I'm sure it hurts, but blocks are going to continue to be produced. Bitcoin's going to still be here. It's not dead. And you have the ability to learn from that, move on.
We're not dead yet.
Not yet. Are they going to kill us? Who knows?
Also, I feel for Bitcoiners that have collateralized loans right now.
Yeah. Hand up on one of them. It's been,
I came pretty close to doing one near the top.
yeah.
And
Mine
I was
wasn't,
like, nah, I'm gonna stay humble and rent.
I'm lucky I didn't do one near the top. But no, I've got sufficient funds in the collateral. But no, it is for anybody who does not have a sufficiently collateralized loan. I can imagine how stressful the last couple days has been.
Yeah, and consider over collateralizing like extra amounts right now, because like
Yeah,
we are in that zone where like all of a sudden there's like a $15,000 drop. So like that is in the cards.
yeah, yeah. Seriously, try and drive it. I would drive it down.
You don't want to go to bed and just have like a fucking massive dump while you're sleeping. So.
Yeah, the not financial advice, but I would drive that margin down as low
Not
as
financial.
possible.
It's just life advice.
Yeah. um, yeah. What else?
Fuck, man.
What else? I mean,
I will say that this.
it's that's what. So like, all right. So now let's
This is
pull.
one of the most exciting shitcoin collapses that I've ever witnessed, and I've witnessed so many shitcoin collapses.
Yeah. I mean, just because of the caliber of the assholes who were pumping it, it was just
And
like,
just this was like just the scale, the sheer scale. It's like a whole new paradigm of shitcoinery that we've entered.
well, that's actually interesting. You bring that up. Massive scale. They had what 100 and they had hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin, right? Did they get over 200,000?
What?
In yeah,
50,000.
50,000. Oh,
We don't even know if they sold that Bitcoin, by the way. The rumor is that they took collateralized loans on it on the OTC markets and then used the dollars to try and defend the peg.
which means that they're going to get margin. So that means that we could go
Means
much lower.
it could be worse.
Yeah.
It could get worse. Or they might have sold it. I don't know. Like obviously there's not that much transparency there, but my understanding is that they might have just taken out collateralized loans.
Yeah. Well, due to the sheer scale, let's run both assumptions. Assumption one being that they did liquidate their Bitcoin to support the peg, and that liquidation is behind us. You mentioned Celsius and other types of lender. Like, are they anywhere near the scale that this was at? Like what? That's why I've been trying to think of like, all right, if Celsius goes down, if Nexo goes down, if a BlockFi goes down, like
Dude,
what?
I think way more people are using this shit than we can comprehend. Like I just don't. It's hard. It's hard for me to. It gets shilled all over the place. I mean, you have like people like BitBoy Crypto and shit who have like 1 million followers on YouTube, and he's just like pouring retail people into Nexo and fucking shit. Not only do I think a lot of retail are using them, Celsius and Nexo and like crypto.com and shit, but I think a lot of these so-called like financial professionals, like venture funds and hedge funds, like how many hedge funds were in the 20% shitcoin Luna trade to get 20% yield? Like that's a straight degen trade. Like how are you deploying, tens of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars into that fucking shitcoin trade? Just blows my fucking mind. So if you start I like Celsius, like they're trying to make yield for their customers so they can say to the customers, you give us Bitcoin and we'll give you 10% on your Bitcoin or whatever. And then they need to go and get higher than 10% in order to give those people the 10%. So then they go to Luna and they get the 20%, and then they take a 10% VIG off the top, and then they give their customers the remaining 10%. And the whole thing just fucking cascades down.
They're all the way out on the risk curve, like off the screen. Like that's how far out they're going. Car, I put a tweet in our group chat, but I mean, GMI, I forget what it stands for, but it's Raoul Pal is behind it, the co-founder of that fund.
Gonna make it?
No, he did not make it. He did not make it.
No, but isn't that what GMI stands for?
Oh yeah, but it's something else in the context of Raoul Pal's investment company. Pull up the screenshots. Yeah, it says dude Remy Tetat. Like it's crazy. These people are institutional investors. They're supposed to be smart and risk averse and understand the intricacy of these these products on these crypto chains. And he came out, and for those of you listening at home, he said, like many of you, I've been wiped out. I'm not going to lie, it hurts. I lost 100% of my capital invested in crypto. I didn't sell one Luna on the way down to not add selling pressure in this stressful time. There's a lot to discuss, but I need to digest it all at first. I hope my fellow lunatics are doing okay. I truly feel for you. None of us deserve this, but here we are. I mean, you did deserve it. Like you guys got greedy. You got extremely risky with your capital. You caught the bug of a megalomaniac in this dude Daquan. You got caught up in a big clout chase, and you got burned for it. So
GMI stands for Global Macro Investor.
Okay, there we go.
Thank you, Jim F, for your contribution in the chat.
He's our your fiduciaries. I mean, it's indicative of just the insane environment.
They should name their next fund NGMI.
But again, this is indicative of just the insane environment that we're in 2022, not only in quote unquote crypto, but just the broader financial system. Like, again, we've been mentioning the macro landscape, but that is extremely precarious as well. And I would argue, yes, the Luna blow up, if they were selling Bitcoin, probably did put downward pressure on the price. But I also think in traditional financial markets and in the stock market, bond markets, real estate markets, with the Fed raising rates, inflation staying elevated, GDP going negative, you're finding traditional markets in a extremely precarious situation where people are selling assets to fill margin or simply selling assets to live because prices are going up so high. And so that's what I wrote about yesterday in the Bent. Was just the interconnected risk that exists in the system in crypto and then beyond in the traditional system is so perverse and so large that it's going to be a tough summer. I mean, we've been posturing like that for months now, but now the hens are coming home to roost. And so Tor Demeester found a couple of screenshots from Reddit and Facebook of individuals that are overexposed in the traditional system. And I think these aren't just two one-off anecdotes. I think a lot of this has happened over the last 2 years, specifically where you had the shutdown of the global economy in March 2020. Obviously, the Fed and the Treasury put on the money printers and the money helicopters, dropped a bunch of money into people's bank accounts, lowered interest rates so they could get access to loans. You had people buying a bunch of houses because they were moving out of the cities because of the lockdowns, and they were able to work from home, didn't have to be in cities. Any excess disposable income that individuals had because they weren't able to spend money as they otherwise would if the economy weren't under lockdown. They were pushing into stocks. The Fed was printing money. The Wall Street investors were playing that trend. And so you had obviously the stock markets go parabolic over the last 2 years. And the two anecdotes that Tor pulled up were individuals who had used their stock portfolios or equity in company, publicly traded companies, as collateral for home loans. And so you have like this perfect shitstorm that started in March of 2020, where you had the economy shut down, money printer go on, interest rates go down, people buying real estate, dumping money into stocks. And at the same time, because of the lockdowns, you had the supply chains beginning to grind to a halt, and the things that we actually need, fuel, food, raw materials to build end products that we use throughout the economy, that started breaking down then. And so like over the course of the last 2 years, you've had these two trends moving in parallel where financial assets, real estate assets are having a shit ton of money poured into them. And then you had the supply chain disruptions, which is leading to less goods getting to market, which economics 101, supply demand, less supply, static or increased demand is going to increase prices. And so you have inflation running hot, and then the Fed earlier this year has to react to hot inflation by increasing interest rates. When you increase the federal funds rate, which is the rate at which banks trade their overnight reserves, they need to cover the cost of that interest rate going up. So then they go out into the products that they offer retail investors, mainly mortgages, and they adjust the rates there so that they can cover the rates that they're paying on their overnight reserves. And so you had all this money flowing into these assets, people thinking they were rich on paper. They were rich on paper. They're making significant gains in their real estate. There are people refreshing Zillow, seeing the real estate value go up every day, refreshing their Robinhood, seeing their stock portfolio going up every day. They thought they were rich. Some people may have taken money off the table, but most people probably did not. And then you get to the point over the last 3 months where the Fed's raising rates because inflation's running hot. And that has an effect on mortgage prices, mortgage rates. If you have an adjustable rate mortgage, most of those lenders are going to increase that mortgage rate, which is going to make your monthly payment higher significantly, depending on the price of your home. And at the same time, higher interest rates too means that the stock market game isn't going on. So the stocks start dumping because of the interest rates, and then probably as well people taking money off the table to actually buy gas and food. and then those stocks start dumping, and you have those stocks as collateral for your house, and the value of your collateral collapses, and you don't own your house anymore. The bank comes to you and says your collateral is insufficient, like you cannot keep this mortgage. And so this is what's playing out right now. We have this beautiful shit show of easy money, supply chain crisis, intertwining the financial assets of the stock market with the real estate assets, people thinking they were rich, and then as soon as interest rates go up, markets go to shit, commodities prices rise, and stocks tank. Like, it's all a fugazi. It's fugazi. It was a mirage. You did not have any of that wealth. It evaporated over, I think, something like $40 trillion of wealth has been evaporated in the last 3 weeks.
And like, to bring it back to Bitcoin, when people get into this situation, whether it's with shitcoins or whether with stocks or whatever other positions they have, they'll often sell Bitcoin to cover those positions. Specifically in the crypto context, like if a major fund is taking massive shitcoin losses to cover their ass, they will try and cover that with Bitcoin and sell some Bitcoin. So you have this knock-on effect.
Yes. So, yeah, I mean, we're in the thick of it right now, freaks. Like, this is, I don't think it's over by any stretch of the imagination. I'm going to put another link in our chat.
You heard it here first. Marty's calling Pete Clown World.
But no, I was actually at Parker in here the other day, and we were talking about, like, all right, what's the indicator that is going to signal to us that the Fed is going to have to act and reverse course on interest rate hikes? Actually, I saved it on my Google Finance. So,
you think they're going to keep raising?
Well, so that's what they will until something breaks, and what's got to break is the credit markets. And so Parker said to me that he's looking at this high yield corporate bond ETF, and Car, zoom out to the 5-year, and then so all right. So if you pull that up, we're looking at the iShares iBox high yield corporate bond ETF, which tracks high yield corporate debt, obviously. And so looking at this chart, you can see obviously in March of 2020, when this index, where Car is right now, if you pull it away from the price, Car, it went straight down. And so this is an indicator that you should probably be watching closely, not until it spikes down with that free fall that it did in March 2020, will the Fed step in and reverse course, because that signals that credit markets have completely broken. Lending is not happening. Money is not moving. And so as you can see, if you're watching on the screen, and you can see the chart of this index, right, it's certainly fallen precipitously over the last few weeks, but it has not hit that free fall trajectory, that free fall
that's
slope.
not considered a free fall yet.
Right? Not yet. It's got to spike down. So I would keep an eye on this.
I wouldn't want to ski down that hill.
No. But I would keep an eye on this index. It looks like, so honestly, it looks like it's going to break in the next week or two if it continues.
It looks like a fucking cliff.
Yeah. So I imagine in the next week or two, this will break. Credit markets will be completely defunct, and the Fed will have to reverse course, probably intra-meeting, lower rates.
I just don't think they have the balls to continue to crash the whole economy right now, or like crash what's left of the economy, which is like these shells of assets.
Yeah,
that are heavily inflated.
Yeah,
like people are watching there. I know we keep laughing, but like you gotta laugh in these situations. But like people are losing their entire retirements, right? Like the one thing that were keeping people going, like small businesses got closed, our rights were trampled on, inflation was high, but like the one thing that kept people going was like number go up on their real estate and number go up on their stocks, and you fuck with that, and the whole charade just fucking.
So that's
apparent.
So that's another thing I said last night. That's a scary part about this cascading doom loop that we find ourselves in. It starts with people selling stocks because the easy money trade has ended. Then it starts with people selling. Then it goes to people selling stocks because they need to cover margin. Then it goes to people having to liquidate stocks because they use it as collateral for these real estate loans. And then You have a laggard effect of the boomers looking at their retirement accounts and saying, holy shit, this is evaporating. I'm going to liquidate into cash just to ensure that I have I can depend on. And that creates like a further cascading of the doom loop. And
Mandibles.
stack 10,000 sats.
Marty, have you read Mandibles yet?
No, not yet. I haven't had time to read a book in a while.
Car, have you read Mandibles yet?
I have it downloaded, just haven't listened to it yet.
Car has it downloaded.
Get it done, Car.
I will.
Yeah, I mean, everything is going to be okay in the long run, but it's going to be pretty fucked up in the short to medium term. I mean,
did you see Coinbase's shareholder letter? They're like, we lost, $500 million, like yada yada yada, and then they ended at the end with we are going to make it. WAGMI.
Yeah, they're not going to make it. I wouldn't be surprised if Coinbase gets bust. I'll just say that.
If I was a shareholder, I'd be so fucking pissed off. You lost $500 million, your stock's in the fucking tank, and you end it with WAGMI.
Yeah, I mean, it's just again indicative of the idiots running the show right now. Yeah, somebody at Chris_Sathos just tagged me in a tweet from Stack Hodler on Twitter. Liquidity issues in repo and credit markets are the number one thing that can force the Fed to reverse course in the short term. Recent report said the risk of a sudden significant deterioration appears higher than normal. Something to watch. So repo markets, which makes sense because the repo markets are where it's another overnight trading desk where people try to get enough margin to support a lot of these high yield bond trades and stuff like that. So yeah, a repo market would be another indicator to look at. Yeah, it's very, I mean, God, we're going to laugh throughout all this because you have to laugh at the absurdity of it all. But you have like diesel shortages on the East Coast appearing, food shortages, baby formula shortages. Shit is hitting the fan. We're in the middle of it. And I guess that's one thing you can take solace in, is that we're in the middle of it. We're here, we're breathing, we're talking, we're meeting. And things haven't gotten terribly bad yet. But like I said many times in the past, like we cannot keep doing the same thing over and over again. Like the Fed will step in, it will begin printing money, but that's, again, during a stagflationary environment where GDP's falling while inflation's still going up. That is going to cause a hyperinflationary scenario, especially when you consider how borked supply chains are due to the lockdowns of the economy and the inability of our elected officials to inject sane energy policy globally. Like it's just the nature of the decisions that have been made over the last many decades. It seems like it's coming to a head now.
Indeed.
Yeah. What else do we got on the list? We could talk about this. I could talk about this for fucking hours.
Well, we've been talking about Coinbase. Cash App also released their earnings. What was the stat?
1.73 billion in Bitcoin sales in Q1, and they made a $43 million profit off of that.
And it's just like you look at two different strategies, right? Where like Cash App stays super focused and Bitcoin focused long term, building strong foundations, and then Coinbase just builds like this ridiculous shitcoin casino and just dumps on all their users.
And they don't even dump correctly. They can't even dump and make a profit. It's like, it's embarrassing.
Well, Coinbase doesn't make a profit, but their partners make it on that shit.
I'd be embarrassed if I were working at Coinbase. Sorry to any of you freaks who are, but get out. Some rosy valuation news, chain analysis.
Rosy valuation. Fuck you, Marty.
I'm fucking with you. Valuations are going up. Crypto forensic startup Chain Analysis raises $170 million at an $8.6 billion valuation.
As long as these surveillance firms are valued at anything over fucking SAT, like, our job is not done.
No, we got to keep working. Who gave these guys money? Benchmark.
Singapore Sovereign Wealth Fund.
Interesting. Benchmark, Excel, Paradigm, and Co2. They opened
Well, it was
offices in Singapore and Tokyo in 2020.
it was led by the Singapore Wealth Fund, yeah, Sovereign Wealth Fund.
Yeah. Series F. They're already on their Series F.
I mean, it just goes to show like how important privacy is in this space. If these surveillance firms are some of the most valuable, resilient companies in the space.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a signal right there. You'll know that we're winning the privacy battle when these guys start losing money because nobody wants to buy their services because they don't work.
That's also what was really interesting. Obviously this is a Bitcoin show, so we focus on Bitcoin privacy when we talk about privacy. But a lot of these other chains have even worse privacy situations, and all the Luna trading and stuff, a lot of it happens on chain. So there was a lot of like Twitter accounts and stuff that were like tracking all of these purchases while they were happening, like who was making them, how much they were making. Just goes to show like how much work needs to be done in this space on the privacy side.
Aren't all the other chains are the chains that enable like ICO token spinning because they use the state model over the UTXO model, right? So, and that inherently is privacy fucked.
The block crypto, for instance, had this article, right? The Quadriga co-founder Michael Patron traded the Terra crash for a $760,000 gain. And like he didn't release a press release or anything. They just knew his fucking address on chain, the Ethereum address, and they watched him make all the trades on chain, and then they wrote an article about his personal transactions. Like that is fucking crazy. Like that is not the financial future I want to live in. Where some random news article can say what trades I made and how much I made. It's fucking dystopian shit.
Yeah. Hey, the block. They're gonna be tracking you on chain. They're probably chain analysis customers, Yeah, it's funny because Bitcoin is such a shining beacon on the hill. Like we can have all this incredible freedom, free markets, sound money, peer-to-peer markets, and yet like it's coming of age at the end of this empire collapse and this collapse of our incumbent financial, monetary, political system. And it's just very interesting seeing the dichotomy of like the goal that Bitcoin puts forth and the mission of Bitcoin in the middle of the blow off top of all this excess exuberance and bullshit fiat, of which I would argue crypto is a part of.
Look at this. I just wanted to just touch on this article because this was pretty crazy to me. While some were cautious that the token could fall lower, Patron's address took the bet that it would return towards parity. According to our analysis by PeckShield, I guess that's like a shitcoin surveillance firm, he swapped $2.8 million worth of Tether for 3.88 million of UST of Terra when it was near its lowest. And then at that point, it rose. It was rising back. The peg was being defended to 94 cents. And then he sold it back for $3.5 million worth of Tether, resulting in a 760,000 profit. And then he bridged some of the funds over to the Avalanche blockchain. Like they were like literally just, some bloggers are just like watching this guy's fucking trades. That's insane. That is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And these are big numbers too, right? It's not like, I don't know. It's crazy.
It is very crazy. But again, like, just think about like anybody who's like, oh, like crypto's got like a lot of utility. Like, just listen to what Matt just said. The rigmarole that Quadriga X guy had to go through.
Marty.
What is it?
It's rigmarole, right?
Rigmarole, whatever. Like, listen, I'm going to take coins here, put them on this blockchain, bridge them over here, rehypothecate them here, get my yield here. It's all fucking Ponzi. I mean, they're pretty blatant with it. They define it as Ponzi. Ponzi fine. I mean, you had Sam Blankenfein, SBF from FTX on
Wait, that's
On-
not his name. Sam Bankman-Fried.
Yeah, that guy, whatever his name is.
Would you just mix like Lloyd blank
Yeah,
blank
yeah.
blank?
I brought in Lloyd, whatever. The vegan with man tits who runs the chop shop out of the Cayman Islands. That guy. He was on Joe Wiesen. He was on Odd Lots with Joe Weisenthal, and I believe Matt Levine joined him for that episode. And he was like openly, like encouraging these Ponzi schemes and acting like it's some novel financial structure that crypto is enabling, and it's nothing more than a casino and a game of Russian roulette where you're gonna get absolutely most of you are gonna get your dicks pushed in. You're gonna get shot in the fucking head. You're gonna pull the trigger, and it's gonna be loaded with a bullet. Like these people with big money are just throwing it around, trying to get hype up. I mean, Novo is one of those guys. Got a fucking tattoo. He's like, yeah, we're part of the Luna community. It's like, no, these people are fucking playing you. They don't care about this shit at the end of the day. They want to get their gains. They don't care if you can't put gas in your car or you burn your life savings. They'll act, they'll posture like it's innovative. It's decentralized finance. It's the future. It's just a mechanism for them to take money from you and put it in their pockets. So be aware. If you learn a lesson this week, don't get tempted. They're siren calls. Quite literally siren calls because they look sexy. It's like, ooh, look, Novo got a tattoo. It looks cool. He's dresses like a douche, but I sort of want to dress like a douche. Maybe I could do that. I mean, these people need to be called out.
There's a lot of people with major pie on their face with this blow up.
Yeah.
There's a lot of tweets,
a
lot of podcasts, a lot of public appearances.
And just know here,
specifically with Terra, there was a lot of shitcoin apologists that were like, if you're a Bitcoiner, you should be supporting this. This is good for the ecosystem. Yada,
Udi,
yada.
Eric Wall, let's name names. Pomp even got into it.
Novo. There's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, come on.
Probably
people.
Ari Paul. I don't know. He's had me blocked for 3 years.
I'm pretty sure Block Tower invested in it. So yeah, he's probably in there.
Yeah, Block Tower is probably neck deep in that shit.
Yeah. These people are not your friends. They're not innovators either. These people are building shit. They're just like writing code that spins shit up. It's nothing innovative. It's a mechanism to take your money. All right, we'll get to shout outs. We have one shout out this week.
Wait, before we do shout outs, we could do shout outs and we'll do it after. Fine.
Okay. Long time, first time. I'm an avid listener, and I have to say I don't agree with you two nerds trashing the U.S. dollar and contributing to its demise. As a 32nd District's U.S. representative, it's my duty to fight for the people I'm here to protect. The banks. You guys are blatantly un-American by empathizing with the 7 billion people outside our country who have to worry about the value of their money on a daily basis. You push for decentralization, but push ahead without thinking of what really matters here, my cash flow. So to those listening to this in Southern California, don't forget to vote for me in the primary this June to support the House of Representatives in the cleansing of the Bitcoin network. Ignore traders running against me such as Erica Rhodes, who value Bitcoin and what it can do for individuals in our country and throughout the world. Fucking gross. Keep up the lols, Brad Sherman. What's up, Brad?
Thanks, Brad. Appreciate the support.
Thanks for the sats, Brad. And you sent that on chain, so you're destroying the environment. You should have used Lightning. Brad, you hypocrite.
Fucking Brad Sherman, man.
Complaining about Bitcoin's environmental impact and then sending an on-chain transaction that gets settled by miners?
How many whales die every on-chain transaction?
At least 3. At least.
They're the smaller size whales. They're not humpbacks.
Yeah. I had a bad whaling joke there. Isn't there yeah, I'm not going to say it. Save the whales. That's all I'll say.
So we skipped on the list one of the biggest stories.
Oh shit. Yeah, I'm sorry.
That got kind of hidden with all this bullshit that blew up, which is the U.S. Treasury sanctioned a custodial mixing service called Blender.io. It is the first custodial mixing service to ever be put on the U.S. sanctions list. In the past, custodial mixing services had been treated like criminal entities, but they haven't actually been officially sanctioned. And just to be clear here, a custodial mixing service is very different from using CoinJoin. Custodial mixing service is you send someone Bitcoin and they take custody of it, and then they send you someone else's Bitcoin. And on chain, that gives you really good privacy if you trust the actual mixing service, because obviously the mixing service knows which Bitcoin you sent and which one came after, which one they sent back. CoinJoin is a collaborative transaction, so it's a Bitcoin send transaction that multiple people do at the same time without giving custody up, and then they have a shared history going forward. So this is I mean, it's interesting from the point of view that the U.S. Treasury is paying attention here. That's not very surprising. One thing people don't realize is, in our little bubble or whatever, you would think people don't use custodial mixers anymore, that people just use collaborative transactions, that people just use coin joins. Custodial mixing use is still significantly higher than any kind of collaborative transaction use. It's the number one way that people use to try and have better privacy when using Bitcoin or other chains. In this case, Blender was also based on on-chain analysis, based on chain analysis. Like
We're using Wasabi, right?
they were using Wasabi in the back end for some of their stuff. So they would do the custodial mixing process, but also they would be putting funds through Wasabi as well. Just an interesting development that should be on people's radar. I would also add that, as far as I'm aware, there have been multiple criminal prosecutions and cases on operating custodial mixing services, but I do not know of any times where the users are getting actually criminally prosecuted. Now, of course, that could change. And also, using a custodial mixing service is not your keys, not your coins. But I would say this also shows that there's a huge educational element, right? That when we're talking about collaborative transactions, that we're clear that that's not mixing, right? That is completely different than custodial mixing services.
Yeah. Be aware of the nuances, the differences, and the risks that come along. Do not use a custodial mixer. You will definitely get fucked because that mixer will get shut down. If you have a Bitcoin on it, that's gone. Potentially, they begin going after customers down the road.
What's actually interesting, because custodial mixers give you more concrete on-chain privacy guarantees if you trust the mixer. But that's a big trust. It's almost like a VPN model, like a hosted VPN model, where you're putting complete trust and faith in the operator of the mixer. And it could be a honeypot. It could be run by, a malicious individual or entity or government. But on-chain, like, there's no connection between the transaction you send them and the transaction they send you back. It's completely different Bitcoin. So there's privacy reasons to potentially use it. I think in general, just use collaborative transactions. It's not worth it. But that's why there's a huge contingent of Bitcoin users that still rely on custodial mixers, specifically in like the dark market circles and stuff like that. Yeah, there was another point I wanted to make, but yeah, custodial mixers, I don't know.
I mean, the Treasury is looking, and actually talking. I mean, I was Treasury looking. People are like, "All right, regulation coming." I was having a conversation in here in the Commons too about the Coinbase thing specifically, and some interesting conversations apparently going on behind the scenes with a lot of these large exchanges and institutional investors that want to get into the space from Wall Street, is that they're worried that Gary Gensler and the SEC is going to be instituting some crazy reserve requirements. We're talking like, if you hold Bitcoin as an exchange or as a custodian, the rumor is that Gary Gensler and crew are going to try to mandate that you have a reserve that is 1,250% above what you're holding, which is insane. That would grind the industry on the exchange and custodial side to a halt. And so with that going on in the background as well, I would not be surprised if that contributed to the fall in price that we've seen this week as people get hyper scared of regulation. Apparently behind the scenes, there's a lot of talk of that coming soon too, which would be,
I mean, I don't think we've seen anything yet really in the form going to get a lot worse. We're definitely not in the then they fight us stage yet. Like it's going to get significantly worse, I think, on that front. I remember the point I was going to say is that pretty much any custodial wallet essentially operates as a naive Bitcoin mixer.
yeah.
And when I say naive, I mean because most of the popular custodial mixers like have different schemes in place to disconnect which Bitcoin you get from which Bitcoin you send. But if you send into like a custodial wallet and then you wait like a couple of days and you withdraw from the custodial wallet, 9 times out of 10 you're getting someone else's Bitcoin, and the only people that can track that on chain is the custodial operator because you're trusting them fully in that situation. And that's why most custodial services end up being forced to add KYC, because regulators look at that and say, you're allowing people to go in and out of your service and gain privacy out of that.
Yeah. Be aware. Nuance, trade-offs. Back to the regulatory tax. They have not started yet. That's the interesting thing. That's the thing. Oh, God. The reserve requirements would be insane. Like insane to the point where it's like untenable, where if that does attempt to be thrust on the industry, again, going back to like corporate disobedience, like I think that's where the line should be drawn. Like this is untenable.
Why is that where the lines? Well, how is that any more onerous
Right.
than like the insane KYC requirements?
I agree.
that
I
they already
agree.
require?
But obviously they haven't drawn that line. They're willing to cede that ground. Like if this rumor is true behind the scenes, and you people at these large custodians and institutions are having these discussions, and you're worried about it, like start speaking up. Like you shouldn't have fucking Marty bent on RHR leaking this to the market. Like,
But like also like build your product so like you're not taking custody.
yeah.
Like if you're not a custodian, that doesn't affect you.
No. But again, yeah, apparently people are freaking out behind the scenes because it could have like a chilling effect on the ability for a lot of these OTC desks to operate, and it could lead to like a liquidity crunch. Who knows? Maybe it actually is good for the price because people can't move Bitcoin. But
I've long held that like if you're a regulated Bitcoin custodian, you're just a masochist. Like I don't know why. I know that they make a shit ton of money, but that does not sound like a way I want to live my life.
yeah,
Like they just get cucked left and right. They just fucking take it.
yeah. Well, that's the other thing too. Like with all this, the calamity going on in energy markets, food markets, stock markets, real estate, the political crisis. You have Biden administration and the Congress and Senate, both Republican and Democrats, at a time where things are obviously hitting the fan here at home, arguing over $40 billion in weapons deals to Ukraine and taking $40 billion of taxpayer money and sending it over there when we have very big problems here at home. Financial system, credit markets are beginning to seize up. The emperor wears no clothes. Why would we listen to these people? Like they fucked up the energy. They fucked up the food. They fucked up the financial system. They're fucking up people's lives materially. Like Bitcoin is our best way out of this. Like as an industry, as Bitcoiners, as individuals who want a better life, a better future for our children, this is where you draw the line in the sand. You say, no, you fucked everything up. Literally everything. You fucked up the energy, you fucked up the food, you fucked up money, you fucked up finance. We're not listening to you anymore. Like this regulation, we're just not going to abide by it because you are getting in the way with all these regulations, with all these policies, with all these manipulations of monetary policy. You do not wear any clothes. These people are making things materially worse off. Like it is time to say no. You can just say no. That's the crazy thing. You just say no, And at the end of the day, Bitcoin specifically, it's computer software. Like unless they come, and you're probably afraid of this, but I would argue maybe we have to force this issue and like really get the optics of it to the public. At the end of the day, they want to stop you from broadcasting a Bitcoin transaction. They have to come to your office and physically prevent you from hitting the enter button or hitting the click button, the send transaction button. And maybe it does get to that point, but maybe that's what we need to do as an industry is let it get to that point and then blow it the fuck up on social media and get the optics of the state stepping in and trying to prevent people from interacting in a peer-to-peer fashion, in a peaceful fashion, most importantly, in a very peaceful fashion, because they don't like what we're doing, because they don't have control of it. Like, enough is enough. These people are literally ruining the world. Like, people are going to die because of the policies that have been implemented in the financial, energy, and food systems, which are the three most important pillars of our society. They've completely destroyed all of it. Like, babies are going to die because there's not enough formula out there. Like it's going to happen. People are dying in other parts of the world because they have food shortages. Jeet Sidhu just sent me a DM in Sri Lanka. Like the farmers, like the crop yield this year was completely bunk because they implemented these ESG policies that like didn't allow enough crops to grow. They can't fucking feed people in Sri Lanka right now because the crops failed because of these stupid fucking policies. It's not just here in the United States, it's everywhere. All these kleptocratic politicians who are completely disconnected and most of the time do not suffer the consequences of their policies are ruining the world. You can get into the conspiracy if it's World Economic Forum and like some like fucking puppet masters doing it. Who knows? I don't care if it is that. What we do know is that this is a situation. This is happening right now. It is here. It is on our doorstep. We're in the thick of it. And it's time to stand up and say, fuck you. Leave me alone. I'm going to go build a better future. Stop me from trying to do so.
I respect the sentiment.
Thank you, sir.
I liked you channeled your inner Roger Ver with the babies are dying.
More babies are dying. I mean, it's fucked up to say, but I mean, this may actually happen, like, because of fucked up policy.
I will say though, like right in the beginning of your rant or whatever, I pretty much completely agree with the sentiment. But like right in the beginning of your rant, you're like, they're gonna have to like come in your office and stop you from pressing the enter button. Like if they banned Bitcoin wallets from the App Store tomorrow, like 99% of people in this space would be running around with their heads cut off. It would be.
That's a good point.
I mean, we'd learn. Hopefully, it'd be a learning lesson, and then people would figure it out. But it would be a major setback. Like there'd be a lot of people that'd be like, I can't access my Bitcoin. I have no idea how to spend Bitcoin or whatever.
Write your seed phrase down, freaks. Write your seed phrases down.
Like there was a ledger bug. There's like a ledger bug that's affecting the view, the balance view in the app on how much Bitcoin you have. And like I had a buddy who reached out yesterday, 2 days ago, just like freaking out that his Bitcoin balance was incorrect. Like that was just a UI bug. And he's been in the space for, 7 years or 6 years or something.
Yeah.
Just responded back, deep breath.
Deep breath. You're going to find it. I've had a lot of those situations. There's do you have your seed phrase? Write your seed phrases down, freak, and secure them properly. They can take the apps off the App Store as long as you have that seed phrase. Come to Uncles Matt and Marty. We'll tell you how to recover and get access to your Bitcoin. But again, all this will only make us stronger. Maybe it'll trip up in the short term, and they're going to try to do this. But again, I will beat this drum. It's like all it takes is again going back to what I said like a month or two ago. Like I am smart. Like just stand up and say no. You're not doing this. No. Leave me the fuck alone. Software updates. As everything goes to shit and the chaos increases and the insanity escalates, people are still building. Join Market version 0.9.6 has been released. This is a new one. RT version 0.3.0 Tor Rust client has been released. So what is this?
It's a
Just a
Tor
Tor
client
client?
written in Rust.
Just a Tor client?
It's not. It's like in beta. It's testing, but I thought it was cool that they were building one from scratch in Rust.
Rust is hot these days. Talking a lot about Rust with Justin Moon.
I just feel like Tor has been making a lot of moves lately, which is good to see.
Yeah,
We're heavily relying on it.
They cleared up their congestion last week, right? Their congestion problems.
I mean, they at least seemed to make the performance and the speed better last week with their change. I think they called it congestion control. But yeah.
This is pretty cool. Casa announces a new API and a Series A round. They raised $21 million. I'm not sure what the valuation was at.
They didn't announce what the valuation was.
Yeah. So,
but the API is the cool part of this press release. So, like, basically, app developers can have their users keep funds in a Casa multisig and then interact with it in their app or whatever.
Yeah, and the user doesn't have to give up an XPub or anything. They can be very granular with the information they disclose, so they're not just open kimono to the apps interacting with this API. It's pretty cool.
In general, like, I mean, there's obviously trade-offs to Casa's service. Like, you don't use your own node. You're trusting them with their privacy. But I like the idea of separating tasks, where you have one project that's focused on actually securing your Bitcoin, and then other projects that are focused on letting you interact and use that Bitcoin without needing to like build a whole wallet stack. So I like that as a concept. It's a cool concept.
Yeah. Nick is going to come on the show in the next few weeks to talk about the API.
Cool.
Rusty Russell released an alternative covenants proposal, OpTX. I was talking
better name.
I was talking to Buck about this yesterday, Buck Purley here at Unchained. Seems to
what
be,
did you say?
Interesting. Still diving into it. Seemed to be, I think the way he prefaced it was an interesting compromise, I guess, over some of the debates going on with OpTX. I think OpTX.
Yeah, it seems really appealing.
Yeah.
So what's funny is 2 weeks ago on Rabbit Hole Recap, I said I was going to do a CTV episode on BIP 119 and CTV for Dispatch, and I reached out to Rusty and Shinobi, and I was like, "Let's do this thing." And Rusty was like,
"Give me a week."
Love to come on. What?
He's like, "Give me a week."
Well, he's like, I would love to come on Dispatch, but why do we have to talk about this topic? And it's like, because all the Bitcoiners were like, they're just kind of like, a lot of us were just like hoping that, we just didn't have to deal with it. And like, there were just like, there was not any threshold. And our hands have been kind of pushed in terms of having to discuss it and discuss the different trade-offs and everything, which is good. Like, open debate and discussion is good. But then Rusty was like, I've been delaying releasing my alternative proposal and I'll get it done. So he released it the morning of Dispatch this week. He got it out at the last minute, submitted it to the mailing list, and then him and Shinobi joined me on Dispatch. So if you're interested in the covenants discussion, if you're interested in just Bitcoin upgrades going forward, we talked more generally about Bitcoin upgrades going forward, and we talked about his proposal, and we talked about Jeremy's proposal for covenants. Definitely go give that a listen. I think it was like an hour and a half episode, pretty easy to digest. Just search Scylla Dispatch on your favorite podcast app. It's the most recent episode.
Go check it out. It was funny. I was looking at the Core Lightning GitHub repository yesterday, and it's great. If you go into that repository, it's insane how much work Rusty does on Core Lightning alone.
Dude's a fucking legend.
Yeah. I mean, and the fact that he's able to do all that work on the Lightning implementation and then think about these covenant shit and release it to the mailing list is extremely impressive. Shout out to Rusty, Shinobi, everybody discussing, working on, reviewing, writing code. You guys are extremely important to the space. And that's a beautiful thing. There's a lot of people with competing views here too. Not everybody that's building this stuff agrees 100% on everything within Bitcoin, outside of Bitcoin, in life, philosophically, but Bitcoin is this one common denominator where we can all, despite our differences, agree that this is something that the world needs and you'll set aside those differences and work to bring about a better life for our children, grandchildren, and humans beyond. Speaking of open source, Spiral released a post on how they approach sustainable open source Bitcoin development and their thoughts on the subject. So they talk about identifying project, community development, multi-entity funding, trying to partner with other people, and how to do this in a sustainable fashion. So it's a nice little blog post there. If you guys want to read about how they're viewing it, and very interesting. Obviously, Matt has Open Sats, where they're contributing to open source Bitcoin development. We've here at TFTC contributed to open source development, and I think it's a good segue. Should we make the announcements for 1031?
Yeah. Fuck yeah. Excited about this.
I am as well. So at 1031, as some of you may know, or if you don't know, we give up a lion's share of our management fee for grants in the Bitcoin space, supporting open source development and projects that are looking for funding to build out things that are value added to the Bitcoin stack. And we recently gave a 1 Bitcoin grant to the Fediment project, which is being run by Obi Naswo, Eric Sverson, and others who are working on Fediment.
I think it's Syrian.
Syrian, yes. My bad. I'm terrible with names.
Yeah, shout out to Obi and Eric and everyone else working on Fediments. Just a reminder. So first of all, Obi had a great presentation, and then there was a follow-up conversation ending off the open source stage. So if you haven't watched that at Bitcoin 2022, go check that out on bitcointv.com or YouTube. But federated Charming Mints is this idea that we could have a privacy preserving, very user friendly wallets that are semi custodial. So they're instead of a single custodian, you can have a federated custodian. So you have like 15 custodians, and a threshold of them have to collude to steal your money. And you have better privacy guarantees because the custodians, you have privacy from the custodians, because you have multiple people using that federated custodial wallet with Charming eCash built in. You have privacy when you interact with Bitcoin in general. And in practice, what it could look like, we hope it looks like, is this idea that you just have like a mobile Lightning wallet that can interact with the greater Lightning network, can pay with any Lightning invoice, can receive from any Lightning invoice. You don't have any channel management. You don't have any liquidity things to deal with. You don't have to use your own node, but you have extremely good privacy guarantees, and it's all extremely easy to use, and it's cheaper than you not using that as your process. And the main trade-off is, if like 8 of 15 of the custodians collude, they can take your money.
Yeah. So
cool trade-off balance.
Very cool trade-off balance. And I'm very excited. I mean, Eric is a top-notch developer. They're building out Fediment, the open source protocol in Rust, and just from people that I've heard who have worked with him really tout his ability to write really clean code and think about this stuff very clearly on the development side. And then you have Obi, who, if you don't know, ran CoinFloor, which was a British Bitcoin exchange. Bitcoin only for years. He was the first they were the first exchange to do proof of reserves. They started in 2014.
Like the first larger one.
Yeah, they started in 2014 and did it every month until CoinFloor got sold earlier last year. And Obi's just stand-up gentleman, incredible thinker, really passionate about. I mean, he explains it in his keynote at Bitcoin 2022. Like, he left CoinFloor because he felt like there was this problem. Like, he was enabling the centralization of custody to third parties, and really is passionate about making sure that people have better custody solutions. Obviously, it's not full self-custody, but this federated model is a step in the right way to create better custody assurances for individuals. And then the privacy benefits that Matt mentioned are obviously something that we're very excited about as well.
So we have Zach saying, like, isn't that similar to how Liquid works with the federated model? Like, the key difference here is, first of all, you have the Charming eCash component. So you have privacy from the federated members. And the second key thing is that the idea is that that it's a Lightning enabled federation. So the beauty there is you never have to swap between chains. Like right now, if you're using Liquid, you have to actually do a swap between Bitcoin and Liquid Bitcoin, or you can do a peg in and a peg out. That whole process, but there's it's two distinct chains. With this model, like the idea is you could have a bunch of local community what affects to be banks, right? So like maybe your local community or your region has a federation of 15 people running 15 people running their federated Chaumian wallet, and then there's like a bunch of other ones, and they can all interact with each other because it's just Lightning native. So you can just pay any Lightning invoice and receive from any Lightning wallet, or you could just be paying someone that is using their own full node or is using a light wallet or something. So it's fully interoperable with the Lightning network is the plan. And that makes it very, very powerful. And it's a very cool trade-off balance. So there's a good combination there. It seems very practical.
Yeah, it's much more interoperable
Yeah.
than what like a Liquid solution would be. And obviously, Blockstream is behind Liquid. They're also supporting Eric in the build out of this. So, I mean, I think there is a lot of signal behind these Chaumian mints. I mean, I've been talking about them for over a year now, or almost a year. I think Eric announced Fedimint last June or July. And it's just crazy to see how far he's taken it so far. And we're extremely excited to be supporting them, Obi and Eric, as they work to build out Fedimint. So
I also had Eric on Sale Dispatch. That was a really good conversation. If you freaks are interested, but I'm very excited that we got to support them in this. This is a big one.
Yeah.
Really important project. I appreciate everyone who's working on it.
Likewise, this is pretty scary. Would expect that like Georgetown Law wouldn't be over. I feel like they're like on like the DC snitch side, but they're highlighting that.
Just gonna do them like that.
I'm sorry.
I did a 2-year research paper on this. Fucking rats.
So they basically the research paper found that ICE, I forget what it stands for, but it's like the Immigration
Customs
Enforcement, which gets a lot of flack for harassing immigrants and stuff like that. And you would think that they're only focused on enforcing things going on at the border and finding illegal immigrants. But what they found in their research, the Georgetown Law Center on Privacy and Technology, they found that ICE, something that is supposed to be dedicated to immigration and focusing on the border and illegal entry into the United States, they're actually surveilling 75% of United States citizens, collecting data, tracking 75% of all Americans. There's 330
This
million.
should not be surprising to you, but this should be alarming, and it should concern you. It should not be fucking happening.
Yeah, over 200 million people. I don't think there's 230 million illegal immigrants. You think 2/3 of the country is?
No, I mean this study specifically is saying that it's American citizens, Marty.
Yeah, I know.
Like that's not even including.
I was being
those
coy.
numbers. Those numbers aren't even including the illegal immigrants in those numbers.
Yeah. So again, 3-letter agency, run amok. They don't care about you. They don't stay in their lane. They don't play by the letter of the law. They don't care about you. They're surveilling you. Fuck these people.
There's a couple takeaways here. First of all, we're seeing the same trend where they're getting around the requirement for warrants when spying on Americans by buying data from companies that are already collecting data on us because they monetize the data, and it's their business model to basically treat us like data cattle. And then they're also using driver's licenses, right, where you dox yourself to the government. So they already have that information. They're using license plates. We see those license plate readers everywhere, right? As you drive around the country, they are tracking your license plate and seeing where you go. And they're using utility records, which, pretty much every American that lives in a home has to pay utility records. So they're using utility records for tracking as well. And I can pretty much guarantee you, it doesn't say specifically in here that, credit card information is part of that data purchasing that they're doing from buying data from private companies. Is, you go you go on a trip or something and buy gas here or buy a sandwich here, and all that data is being used against us.
Why? Like, why are they doing this?
They spent over $2.8 billion between 2008 and 2021 to spy on us. That's just ICE alone. Like, we have intelligence agencies. Like, we have the CIA, we have the NSA, we have the FBI, but now ICE as well is they're all being turned into surveillance agencies, basically.
These people hate you. Stop enabling them. We need to defund all these agencies. People like defund the police was like the big like red herring. We need to defund all these alphabet soup agencies, and there's no better way to do that than to bring a Bitcoin standard to fruition. A Bitcoin standard in which most people are holding their own keys, using best privacy practices, and standing up and saying, no, ICE, you're supposed to be at the border. Stop tracking me. Why are you tracking me? Do you think I'm one of the 75% of Americans being tracked, or one of the 25% that's not being tracked?
Of course you're not being tracked, Marty.
It's good to know. Moving on.
I wouldn't be surprised if that number's higher than 75%.
Yeah,
it was for most people, they read 75%, they're like, oh, that's alarming. I'm like, oh, that's not as bad as I thought it was.
You were nothing more than something to be controlled by 3-letter agency freaks. That's how they view you. You need to be tracked. Your hand needs to be held. You need to be surveilled. Don't do this. Don't do that. Stop talking this way. Stop purchasing these goods. Be a good citizen.
Neil, data cattle. On a positive note, I got to kick it with Neil for the last 3 days. We've been getting trashed.
How many White Claws?
I picked him up from the airport with a 24-ounce White Claw. And
Oh,
a couple
wow.
were waiting for him.
You're an enabler.
He had never seen a White Claw that large before.
You're an enabler.
And then me, him, and my lady finished a whole bottle of tequila ourselves. That was a fun night.
Ooh. He's on your porch.
Is he really on my fucking porch right now? He might be.
Hey, the only podcast where we'll pick you up from the airport, okay? This is the RHR difference. What do we got next? Grayscale. Barry going hat in hand to the SEC. Please, please let us turn GBTC into an ETF. We need to unlock $8 billion for our investors. The GBTC discount is pretty significant right now. Clark still have it on the dashboard?
It's like 25% or something.
I think it's even more than that right now.
I'm so glad they don't have an ETF yet. Like, how much Bitcoin does it say they have? 3.5% of all Bitcoin?
They have 8 billion. They're trading at
fuck them.
538.
I hope they don't get the ETF anytime soon. We don't need them. We don't need them to scoop up much more of that.
Please, sir, please let us convert this to an ETF. I mean, now it's like, hey, now you got like base SEC out, base 3-letter agency, no ETF. We want people to custody their coins. Maybe that's why they're doing restrict reserve requirements. They want to force the exchanges to force people to hold their own Bitcoin. Maybe our 5th pillar SEC agent is really, he's playing 5D chess. Up the reserve requirements so you're forced to force people to hold their keys. And don't let an ETF come to market because that would disincentivize people from holding keys. Maybe the SEC is our 5th pillar agency here.
Nope. This is your worst conspiracy theory.
It's my favorite one. The 5th pillar SEC.
Horrible theory.
This doesn't seem very good. Costa Rica declares a national emergency after the Conti ransomware attack. So a lot of the Costa Rican infrastructure is getting ransomware attacked.
I put this one in there for you.
Why? Because I'm for that Puerta Vida lifestyle?
No, because this is like, I don't know, like the cyber pandemic or whatever.
Yeah, that's sort of fallen by the wayside.
Like nation states doing national emergencies, declaring national emergencies over ransomware that is requiring Bitcoin ransoms.
Yeah.
They denied the ransom. They said no to the ransom. There's a new president. He got sworn into office, and the same day he declared a national emergency. And it's one of these like new style ransomware attacks where they also steal the data. So they dumped a bunch of data.
672 gigabytes worth.
Yeah, when they declined to pay the ransom, the Conti ransomware group dumped all the data.
I sort of like this. They dumped 672 gigabytes worth of data belonging to the Costa Rican government agencies.
So you don't think this is a psyop, but you think Terra is?
Could be. I don't know. Like maybe Costa Rica is the test bed. They see how. It's weird that it's Costa Rica. Like why would? Like,
I mean, I don't think this is a psyop. I think just these governments just have really insecure systems. They're just gonna get fucked left and right over and over again.
I agree there. Scapegoat. Terra's definitely a psyop, though. You can't convince me otherwise. It's too perfect. It's too perfect. We're gonna come full circle.
Once again, your whole evidence is just like shitcoiners are greedy, greedy and short-sighted.
No, the evidence, the signal of the evidence is Janet Yellen.
But that's different. Like if it's them
too perfect.
If it's them taking advantage of a vulnerable shitcoin setup, that's a completely different story than them creating it from scratch just to do it. That's more believable.
I mean, how hard would it be to create this from scratch? Like, hey, go spin up this ERC20 token, the Quan.
But the thing is, they don't need to because the shitcoiners just do it for them, right? They set up this situation for them. And like this is like a classic shitcoin thing. It's like the perfect shitcoin setup. They love this shit. It's like their ideal Rube Goldberg profit-making machine. And then it was just super vulnerable, and someone with capital fucking exploited it. And then the government always leans into these things.
Come on, let me believe it's a CIA psyop for one day. One day.
You can believe whatever you want, Marty. I'm fine with it. I'm at peace.
I am too. It probably was the most spectacular shitcoin blow up I've witnessed.
There's going to be even better ones in the future.
What have been the best to date?
I don't know. It's hard to remember them now.
Right? Try to think. Yeah, like Blake Coin back in the day. Remember that dude? I forget his fucking name.
Oh, what about Dogecoin Dark that turned to Verge, and then
yep,
they had like the multiple mining algos, and then
remember Dash? God, remember Dash?
But like Dash didn't have like that was just a shitcoin pump and dump, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was no like spectacular blow up. I
mean, Nano blew up.
That was just a shitcoin pump and dump too, right? Like there was no spectacular.
Yeah. Ethereum's going to be the most spectacular one.
This one was like definitely a different beast, right?
How it blew up. I mean, it just took the Ponzi.
And like the speed that it happened.
Yeah.
And the amount of like hands that were all, burned at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, take names, freaks. Remember who was pumping this, telling you it was going to be the next best thing. And remember who gets paraded out on CNBC is thought as a leader in this space. People do not give a fuck about you.
Well, that's our list.
That's our list. What should we riff on? Like an hour and 50 minutes in on this.
No, I have a long flight and drive after this.
So
my last 3 weekends have been the same. Like people,
you gotta stop traveling, man. You gotta pack it in, bro.
Friends and family, man. Is there anything more important?
No. Have them come to you. That's what we've had happen the last few weeks. It's been great.
I don't think people are going to come to me for their wedding and their bachelor party. So.
I think you'd be surprised. Okay, I think you can try harder.
Have your wedding by me, man. Like what are you doing? Why do I have to travel to your wedding? You should just come here.
Yeah, I I'm front running the Beef Initiative Bone Broth Challenge. I started it Tuesday night. I have prior engagements tomorrow night, so I couldn't do it tomorrow and Saturday. So I'm right now currently 41 hours into a 48-hour fast. I really like it, dude.
Oh, awesome.
I feel like actually I'm not that
A long
hungry.
time.
Yeah, I'm feeling the juices are flowing up here. It is true what they say. If you fast, so just water and bone broth and black coffee for the last 41 hours, and I'm like in it right now, feeling good.
Fuck yeah. Cheers to that. So you didn't go to what was like Lightning Bit Devs yesterday? What is it being called?
The Lightning Devs meetup. Ben Woosley and Lisa were leading it last night. Michael Atwood gave a presentation. I did not make it. I'm in nesting mode right now. I can only be in here for the exact amount of time that I need to be, and then I gotta go home. But I heard it was great.
Awesome. Yeah, we had Nash Bitcoiners yesterday. We had 250 people, new venue. Really fucking vibes were extremely high. We had Yusuf came in from Built with Bitcoin. He presented on what they're building. If you're not aware, they've been building schools and other services for people around the world using Bitcoin, and they're a 501c3. So if you have, I mean, probably not this year, but if you have Bitcoin gains, you can offset them with with donations there or to OpenSats. But it's just like I know it sounds super corny, but the real Bitcoin's like the friends you make along the way. And
You had to go there.
I know
It's true. It's true.
It's just so like I love these like grassroots Bitcoin communities that are just popping up everywhere and just.
Well, this is how we win.
Extremely bullish on that.
This is how we win. Like, this is like literally these grassroots movements. Bitcoin is a grassroots movement. Moving it into meat space with Nash Bitcoiners. What's going on in here in Austin? There's startups here in Texas, or not startup meetups popping up in Dallas, San Antonio. We've got Houston. There's meetups in Alabama.
Lisbon meetup on this Saturday.
Lisbon meetup this Saturday. If you're in Portugal and you're looking to go to a Bitcoin meetup, there's one in Lisbon. I don't know where, but it's going to be there. Start looking. This is like this grassroots movement. Individuals like it. I don't want to get corny, but like it just harpens back to like it reminds me of like the founding fathers. What did they do? They met in fucking pubs and bars and were like, "How the fuck are we going to do this?" This is exactly what's happening now on a bigger scale, globally, with these Bitcoin meetups and all the tangential grassroots movements that are popping up alongside it, like the Beef Initiative and other stuff. So keep it up. Start your Bitcoin meetup, meet in the pub, figure out how the hell are we going to do this.
Yeah.
And before we wrap it up, I have shitcoin email of the week. We might start this because I get so many of them.
Hit us. I don't check my emails.
I'm not going to name names. I'm blank, community manager of We Run Crypto, a Web3 agency specializing in marketing and consulting. We work with multiple projects at all times, including successful projects like at MEE6NFT and at Part is IMPC. We were wondering what's the process to get featured in your podcast for some of our projects. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Well, dude, you're not going to hear from me. Please stop sending me these emails. No?
No more of these segments.
Okay.
They just got too much promotion there.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And we just had like a nice heartfelt Bitcoin community conversation and
I ruined it.
You just threw in a shitcoiner email.
We're making fun of them. Can we shit on them?
Fair enough. Well,
stop emailing me, people.
I think let's wrap it here. I love you, freaks. I love you, Marty, and stay humble and stack sats.
Say no. Just say no. Peace and love.